Biden's DOJ raids Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. The DC and New York mayors discover NIMBY. And Liz Cheney goes down in flaming defeat. I'm Yo Grabba Gabba. This is Cancel This Show. This is Cancel This, episode 33, recorded mid-August 2022. I'm your host, Yo Grabba Gabba. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pavement Road Productions. You can email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Share the post, tell your friends. This will be the 33rd episode, like I said, recorded coming out here in mid to late August, let's say, of 2022. A lot more coming up soon. We have some reality TV stuff coming up in a little while, some more sports stuff as well. So be sure to subscribe so you get it all, and tell your friends all about it. No guests this week. We may have one in the future coming up, but it won't be this week. So just going to go ahead and talk about these three big topics of discussion, three things to go over, if you will, with the three big news stories. And one is, the biggest one, of course, is the DOJ raids Trump's house in Mar-a-Lago. So Trump's house in Florida, raided by the DOJ, Department of Justice. Now, what were they looking for? There's a lot of speculation. The DOJ said the FBI raids his house. 30 FBI agents show up and just go into his house with a warrant. He's not there, so they go through and they just start grabbing boxes of stuff. And why are they doing it, right? Well, there's a lot of speculation, but we all know why. We all know why. They are a crime-fighting organization in need of a crime, right? They don't have any relevance if they're not fighting crime, right? There's plenty of crimes they could fight. They could look into Hunter Biden. They could, and the whole thing too with Hunter Biden, is they're saying, that he's, under investigation, but they also said that the shooting of Biggie was under investigation until recently. So they couldn't indict anybody or couldn't, speak to the press or give any information away until, recently, because, it was an open investigation. Well, they can just have an open investigation. That way they don't talk about it. Just say it's an open investigation. They can't comment on it. So are they actually investigating anything? I highly doubt it. I highly, highly doubt it. But either way, if he gets indicted, I'll be surprised. If it happens under Biden, I'll be even more surprised. But they raid Trump's house, and what they're looking for is anything they can get Trump on, right? They got a judge who is friendly to their cause, who hates Trump, and the judge signed a warrant. It'll basically let them go in and search Trump's house for anything. Was there a crime that was committed? Well, no. And, usually, it's like one of those things where, in the history of the country, they couldn't impeach, Nixon without, they had to have good evidence. The end of the investigation should be raiding his house, because the spectacle of raiding a former president's house is pretty insane. So, that should have been the last thing they did. They should have been like, okay, we have everything we need. We just need one more piece of information. Let's go see if we can get it from his house. That should have been it. Not the let's see what we can find. We already investigated for 6 years. When he was president, before he was president, and now after he's president, we're investigating him. We haven't found enough to arrest him on. And if we did, here's the thing. If they had enough, if he was committing all these crimes in his life, like they've been saying he's been a criminal his whole life, because he makes money. If he's been a criminal his entire life, how come you impeach him on nothing? You impeach him on nonsense. Impeachment is supposed to be they did something so egregious that both sides want to vote for it. Right? That's what impeachment is supposed to be. Nixon would have been impeached because of what of Watergate. You would have had bipartisan support to get rid of him. That's what impeachment's for. It's not for, I don't like this guy, let's get rid of him. So, again, they're still trying to find crimes, still investigating, still trying to find whatever they can find. Haven't found anything. Doubt they will find anything, but they keep looking because they want to try to find a crime because we know this guy's guilty, let's find a crime. It's like, they keep comparing him to Al Capone. We know he did these crimes. We'll get him on something. Let's get on tax evasion. Even though we can't get him on murder and all the other things. right? So that's what they're trying to do, and it makes no sense because he's a former president, right? They talk about the norms, right? Imagine if Trump would have put Hillary in jail. Just imagine. He made this thought that he would do it, and then so the country wouldn't burn down, he didn't. And when he said just that he might do it, the world, the left and the media just lost their ever-living minds. Not that they had him to begin with. But imagine if he did put Hillary in jail. Imagine if he went after Barack Obama for some of the shady deals he did. For the Iran nuclear deal, giving Iran all kinds of money that they then used to fund terrorism. Right? I mean, because money's fungible. So you give money to somebody and they do something illegal with it, then maybe they didn't use your exact dollars you gave them, but they did use dollars. Right? Like, literally, Obama gave Iran money, and they tried to use that money to assassinate Trump and Pompeo. So you can say that Obama tried to fund the assassination of his guy who took over after him, his successor. You can make that argument. It's not a stretch. Was the money earmarked for that? Of course not. But money's fungible. There's more evidence that Obama funded the assassination of Trump and Biden, attempted assassination of Trump and Biden, or Trump and Pompeo, than they have anything on Trump. But Trump didn't want to go after them. He didn't want to impeach them. He didn't want to try to arrest them. He didn't want to divide the country like that. But of course, the left was never going to let him win. So they had to try to go after him, and they're still trying to go after him. And it's insane. But the biggest thing I want to talk about here, the biggest thing I want to spend some time on, is what now for Biden? Because he said he didn't know about it. He said that the raid happened outside my jurisdiction, which is, if you're the president, anything's happening outside your jurisdiction, you shouldn't be the president. The Department of Justice, which is the executive branch, also nothing should happen because Merrick Garland works for you. So if your employee is doing something you don't know about, as a president, some of you appointed within the last 2 years, and they're going to do something this huge, it's a problem. But the reason Biden has to say he didn't know anything about it, which is obviously untrue, the reason he has to say he didn't know anything about it is because they impeached Trump for way less. Almost the exact same thing, in fact. They impeached Trump for wanting to investigate Biden's crimes when Biden was thinking about running for president against him. Trump is certainly prepared to run for president against Biden, so now Biden's DOJ is investigating him. It's the exact same thing, except Biden's more egregious. So my question is, when are we seeing articles of impeachment for Joe Biden? When? Because the Democrats, they think they're never going to be out of power again. Maybe they have something in the works where they'll never be out of power again. I really don't know what their plan is, honestly. But you had to think that someday down the line, at some point, they would be out of power again, right? Because they drew up articles of impeachment against Trump for doing things that they themselves do, right? They made rules that they're not prepared to live under, right? And so if you're going to impeach Trump for quote unquote asking for an investigation into his quote unquote chief political rival, and then you're, as president, going to do this exact same thing to your political rival, if you made that standard, now you have to live under that standard. If you make a law, you don't have to live under it. I know the elites don't have to. I know they live under their own rules and play by their own rules. But you have to live under the rules you create. You said you impeached Trump for doing the same thing that you're doing. And worse. You're doing worse than Trump did, and you impeached him for it. So how is that okay that you're doing it now? Right? There is credible dirt on Joe Biden. There still is. There still is credible dirt. Nobody else look into it. Nobody cares. But there is evidence that Joe Biden committed several crimes. Right in plain view. There's evidence. But Trump, we've investigated him for 6 years and found basically nothing. I mean, nothing you could indict him on, nothing you could throw the book at him for. If he got fined here and there, perhaps, or something, perhaps, but That's it. That's all. He was a very rich guy who had some very shady friends. Go figure. A lot of rich people have shady friends. He lived in a way different world than the rest of us. But like everybody, like he says, they don't hate him. They hate us. They hate the conservatives. They hate the right. They hate the redneck farmers. Those things. People who don't see the world through a liberal view. People who think for themselves. Free thinkers. They hate. People who don't just regurgitate the company line. That's who they hate. So they have to go after Trump. They can't let him run again. But meanwhile, did Joe Biden just do something that Trump got impeached for? It certainly seems like it. Certainly seems like that. Certainly seems like Biden has committed a crime that he should be impeached for. And I don't think Trump should have got impeached for what he did. I don't think either one he should have got impeached for. I don't think they brought evidence. I don't think that it met the standard of impeachment. But he's the only president ever impeached. There are presidents who've started wars, who've gotten people killed, who've done all kinds of horrible things that were reelected. Trump gets impeached for things that were very, very, very minor compared to those things. Either way, regardless, what's the plan here? What are we doing? Because if we set the standard that this is impeachable for looking into, or again, not even someone who works for you necessarily, but I said this at the time. If this is the road you want to go down, good luck when it comes back around on you, right? Let's make a rule that we're going to have to break, right? So of course Biden's saying he had nothing to do with it. Of course he did. Either one of two things. Biden needs to either be impeached and removed from office for committing the same quote-unquote crime that Trump did by investigating him when he was a quote-unquote political rival because he knew about it and authorized it, or he needs to be removed by the 25th Amendment for being incompetent. Because if they're going to look into investigating his chief political rival and they're not going to tell him about it, then he's that incompetent. That's how pathetic and incompetent he is, and he shouldn't be in power. Shouldn't have his finger on the nuclear button, let's say. They were about Trump. Trump showed a lot of restraint. He blew up a terrorist. That's about it. Had less wartime, less war than anybody else. But it's okay. Because the rules apply to some, not others. What rules are we going to create? Are we going to create rules that we all live under? Or are we going to create rules that only certain people live under? Because we don't have a country if we're not living under the same rules. If you get impeached or you get thrown in jail for something that you didn't do, or you did do, and then somebody else does the same thing and they get away with it, I don't think that's quite fair. I don't think that's equal protection under the law. And we know that's not. We know that they're violating that all the time. But then to do it and then to lie to your face about it. This idiot buffoon who doesn't know anything. He's too stupid and too old to know anything that's going on in the world. I mean, that's a problem. That's a huge, huge problem. And they should definitely look into, I want to see them draw up articles of impeachment. Why not? Because if you're going to impeach Trump for this, at least you have more evidence of Biden's corruption. He's been corrupt for his entire life, especially lately. I mean, he made jokes about how he was the poorest guy in the Senate or whatever, but lately he's not. Lately, I've noticed he has 4 houses, and his son's a crackhead, but has tons of money. And I don't know what's up with the Biden kids leaving their personal effects everywhere, but his daughter left a diary with some stuff in it. The Secret Service had to go collect it. His son leaves laptops everywhere full of information. Are they trying to get caught? I really think they're so miserable. I think they're so miserable and angry and everything that they don't mind getting caught. Honestly, like, it's like a cry for help or something. Like, I mean, there's no way that this should happen this often. And especially to this guy and his kids. I mean, obviously, even with the whole, with Biden's and Hunter's cell phone, with information from his cell phone where he had his contacts. A lot of famous people have code names that they use and communicating with each other, or a politician will use a fake, have their family put a fake name in their phone for them, so that, like, in case it gets hacked, they don't know who they're talking to, whatever. And like Biden's name was Peter something. He had, like, in all his kids' phones, his name was Peter, whatever, some book character, because he's a freaking intellectual, right? It's a famous book character because he thinks he's an intellectual and he's actually a moron. But he had it, Peter was the name in everybody's phone for Joe Biden, except for Hunter's phone, it was Pedo Pete. So that explains a lot. Why his kids are so messed up, and his daughter said how dad was creepy around her and everything. Like, a lot of that makes a lot of sense. I mean, looking at Biden and understanding him from the last few years here, you definitely can tell that he's a strange individual, and he's got some weird fetishes and whatnot. So, but like I said, I mean, I didn't make these rules. I don't want to live by them that the left has made. I don't want to live by the rules the left has made. But I do think if anybody has to live by them, it should be the ones who made them, right? I mean, shouldn't that be like priority number one? You made the rules, you live by them. Shouldn't that be, I don't know, just a thought. So if we impeach Trump because he was investigating, he was withholding aid from the corrupt government of Ukraine, which the left said the Ukrainian government's corrupt, now they're the best thing ever, and we should work with them, they're our favorites. We should send soldiers to die in their country for them. But they were corrupt when Trump was dealing with them, and now Biden's dealing with them, they're great again. It's weird how that works. A lot of things changed, depending on who the president is. A lot of the things that were exactly the same are now different because of who's doing it. But anyways, so of course Biden, he admits that he withheld aid from Ukraine until he would stop looking into investigating his son, right? Which, of course, his son, if they investigate his son, I don't think he really gives a rip about his son. I think he gives a shit about the fact that if they investigated his son and found stuff on his son, it would be linked back to him. That's what I think. But in any event, the Biden family is a joke, and the fact that Hunter was going around the world getting bags of cash, and then they're being investigated, and he said he withheld aid because they're investigating his son. He admitted to that. And Trump saying, "Well, I think there's corruption going on in your country to Ukraine, and you should look into it. And we're not giving you, I don't want to give you your money that we owe you until I know that it's not going to go, into somebody else's pocket that is corrupt, instead of going where it's for what it's used for. It's supposed to be used for." And it was quid pro quo, whatever you want to say. Trump gets impeached for it. And not all quid pro quo is necessarily bad. If it's, hey, I'm not giving you money because I don't trust you. Because I think you and Biden are working on stuff on the side. And that's not, if he's basically saying I'm not going to give money to somebody who, is going to use that to run against me, and B, is not who is supposed to get it. So they impeached Trump for that. Meanwhile, they raid the former president's home. Like, I think, a call to discuss corruption is not nearly as bad as sending agents to the former president's house to raid his house. Like, if we're doing one and not the other, we should be having the phone call and not raiding the house. And again, if you're going to indict him, you better then. You better have enough to move on him. You don't, and you might try to anyways, but you better have enough to move on him after all this. Because if after all this you don't move on him, it just shows that you just literally sent people to his house to try to find evidence. Like, we have a person we don't like, we're going to try to find a crime that they committed. Either they didn't commit a crime, we're going to find one, we're going to look through their taxes, we're going to talk to anybody who's ever met them before in their life, we're going to try to put everybody in jail around them so that person can then take a deal. Like they're going after one of Trump's old lawyers again now. Like they're going to try to put one of Trump's old lawyers in jail. He was like 75 years old for like 15 years. You know, and the plan is to have him turn on Trump and give up evidence on Trump so that they can, you know, spare him or whatever, so he doesn't have to go to jail for as long or whatever, get a reduced sentence. And the guy's like, well, I don't have anything on Trump, so what are you doing? Well, then he's going to jail. Okay, but why? Like, you only found crimes because you were investigating somebody to try to find a crime. Like, I bet you, you know, they said, like, you know, somebody, I think maybe it might have been Thomas Sowell, said if the police follow you long enough, they'll eventually pull you over for something. You know, like you eventually, like if you know, if people watch every aspect of your life, they would probably find something about you they don't like, and maybe even a crime. You know, that you don't even know is a crime or that it hasn't been on the books in 30 years. You know, I mean, they said, oh, maybe they're saying, oh, it was the nuclear secrets. Yeah, he may have been selling nuclear. Okay, if you think he was selling nuclear secrets, then charge him. Please. Because let's bring that out in the open. If that's what you think's happening. Or if he's not, then what are you doing? What are you talking about? Oh, it was, you know, the Presidential Records Act. Oh, because he was supposed to turn things over to the National Archives. He didn't turn them over. Okay, so you're raiding his house for them because he had a piece of paper that he didn't give to you. You have to send the FBI to his house and get all boxes of information. And he declassified. He had classified information there. Okay. Well, the president can declassify anything he wants, and he can just do it by waving his hand. He can, you know, walk in the middle of the room and say, "This is declassified. This is declassified," and he says that he had a standing order that if he took anything out of the Oval Office, took home, it was automatically declassified. And some are saying that's true. Some are saying that's not true. Some are saying it's not legal for him to do that. That's up for debate, but you don't have the right to go into his home and raid his drawers and, I mean, terrify his family. It's insane. It's insane. And I mean, like I said, if you have something, you need to show it, right? Because there's no trust in these institutions. There's no trust in the medical institutions. There's no trust in the, you know, in the bureaucracies. IRS is getting 80-some thousand new agents because a couple of billionaires didn't pay enough in taxes. I don't think so. You could have like seven. You could have what? Every billionaire in the country gets 12 IRS agents assigned to their case to make sure you get every penny from them, and that's it. They're only going after them. Who are you kidding? All right. I mean, the medical establishment is a joke. Scientific establishment is a joke. Fauci has no credibility. Hasn't had credibility in a long time. But again, you know, and the FBI. I mean, the FBI. They had all the lies with the Russian collusion. All the 50 former Secret Service, 50 former government agents saying that Hunter Biden's laptop is not accurate, is not legitimate. I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have eyeballs and I can see what's on there. And it certainly doesn't look doctored. It certainly doesn't look fake. You know, it's certainly Hunter, certainly him trying to document things, and you know, it's classic sign of somebody who's trying to protect themselves, you know, like, so they don't get taken out. Like, you know, like somebody who's worried for their lives, they're afraid that somebody's going to try to kill them or something, you know, because they, you know, have dirt on somebody or something. Like, that's what it looks like to me. So, I don't know. I mean, it certainly doesn't seem fake. But again, the FBI says, oh, it's fake. It's really weird, right? Like, I mean, big media, big tech. It's like when it's like if you have like 3 kids and one of the kids gets yelled at all the time for doing something, and the other 2 kids never get yelled at for doing anything. At some point, you think the parents don't like the kid, right? You know, like all these people say, "Oh, you know, you're such a Karen," complaining about the censorship and complaining about this, complaining about that. It has nothing to do with any of that, actually. when everything that happens is only biased towards one side, you start to wonder, right? It's like if the right was, if the left was being censored like crazy, and the left's candidates were being, targeted by the FBI, and the left's, I said, how many, I said, and you think, again, I've said before, the left thinks that the right is corrupt. The right thinks both sides are corrupt, and that's the biggest difference. Like the right knows that there's corrupt politicians. The left knows it too. They just think they're all on the right. And it's like the right's like, no, all politicians are corrupt. Most of them, just about all of them. But again, they raided Trump's house because Trump's a bad guy. We gotta get rid of him and everything else. And what I'm asking for is, well, if we impeach Trump for questioning how Biden got his gains. And how Biden is, how questioning Biden's corruption with a foreign dignitary, which he has the right to do because he's the president, to question another person who may or may not run against him for president, or may not be a presidential candidate, and the media coverage. Look at all the corrupt organizations. Do you trust the media? No. Do you trust the government? Congress, the Senate, the president? No. Do you trust the FBI? No. Do you trust most law enforcement? No. Do you trust big tech? No. Do you trust medical establishment? No. Do you trust scientific establishment? No. Well, that's weird. That's like all the organizations. Seems like none of them are trustworthy. And of course, they're all liars, and then they all cover for each other, and they live in their own little bubbles. They think that people won't, and they want you thinking for yourself. If you think for yourself, you're bad. You need to be censored and you need to be silenced. That's a big part of the reason I put this show out, because silencing people is wrong, period. And we need to put a stop to it. And again, if they're going to make the rules, they need to live by the rules. They can't make rules for some people, not others. They can't make the rules for the peasants. People who make under a certain amount of income don't have to live by the rules. People who make over a certain amount of income do make the rules, and they don't have to live by those rules. That's not true. If you're gonna impeach Trump for something that Biden's going to do 10 times worse, you need to impeach Biden for it too. Or you don't have a system of laws. We just make it up as we go. I don't like you, so you're going to jail. I do like you, you're fine. Both commit the same crime. Not how it works. And we need to do something about it. We need to. I want to see articles of impeachment drawn up against Biden as soon as the Republicans take the House and or the Senate. That's what I want. And guess what? They actually have evidence of this, unlike the Trump stuff. But again, you want to impeach somebody twice. Oh, Trump's bad. Blah blah blah. Like, even if Trump was horrible, even if he was literally Hitler, which every Republican candidate is literally Hitler according to the left, according to the media, right? I mean, McCain was Hitler, and then he was great because he went against Trump. And Mitt Romney was a horrible person too. He was the worst. And then it was Trump, and then if DeSantis runs, he'll be even worse than Trump. That's how the media does it. That's how it works. It's all BS. It's all garbage. But so don't listen to what they say. It's all bull. It's all bull. It's all bull. Speaking of lies and corrupt politicians, so I was really hoping that New York Mayor Eric Adams would be good. I was hoping to be the law and order candidate. He did run on law and order candidate. They elected him for that reason. And I was really feeling good about him. I'm like, man, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be the first good mayor of New York we've had in a while. Blah blah blah. And of course, no, he's not. He's one of the worst. He's basically Bill De Blasio. He's not much different. He's super woke. He supports law and order, kind of, but only while it's politically convenient for him. He wants to tax everybody to death. He's typical idiot politician who doesn't know anything. Sounds about right. The biggest thing he's learning, though, him and actually Muriel Bowser are both learning this really interesting thing called NIMBY. What's NIMBY, you ask? Oh, thank you for asking. NIMBY is an acronym. Stands for Not in My Backyard. Because Eric Adams was talking about how, especially him and Muriel Bowser both, but especially Eric Adams, talking about how great it is that we have immigration. And the southern border is not secure, despite what the Secretary of State said, who should be impeached. I mean, should have been impeached. Mayorkas should have been impeached 2 years ago. Shouldn't even been brought in. They shouldn't even have given him the job in the first place. But so the southern border is secure. It's secure. It's fine. It's great. And there's no illegal immigration. And the fact that there is no illegal immigration at all. It's not even happening. It's not a problem. And it's great that it is. Right? Like so many things. Like we didn't take Donald Trump's passports, but we did give them back. Wait, what? We gave him back. No, we didn't take Donald Trump's passports when we raided his house, but we did give him back. Well, those two sentences are mutually exclusive things. You either took it or you didn't. No, we didn't take it. We definitely didn't take it. We gave it back though. Well, gave back what? Because if you didn't take it, you had nothing to give back. You idiots. Well, good old Eric Adams, Mayor Adams loves illegal immigration. It's the best thing ever. He loves it. And he loves the fact that Texas, they're trying to turn Texas blue, so he loves that they're importing illegal immigrants, and the illegal immigrants are not really cooperating because Hispanics are starting to turn more and more towards the Republican Party because they know that they're very religious, a lot of them, and they know that the left is trying to indoctrinate children to woke ideology and transgenderism and stuff that Christianity and a lot of Hispanics are Christians, and they don't buy into this BS from the left of self-worship. So they're starting, they're pretty moderate at this point. They're pretty much about 50-50 Republican Democrat at this point. So that really upsets them. So they have to just try to import more illegals to try to overwhelm the system. And I know they said there's a white supremacist talking point, but if you're bringing in people from another country, what else are you doing? It's not the great replacement theory necessarily, but it is replacing the current population with other people. It's like we have 30 people here, and we only had 30 more people. Well, if each of those 30 people originally had a vote, now the vote counts half because there's 30 more people. Right? So immigration is something that they all week and nod about it, and of course big corporations love it because they can get cheap labor and all those things. But the funny thing is, he loves illegal immigration. It's great, it's wonderful, and the federal government is not going to enforce the law. They were told they had to. They're not going to do it. The judge told them they have to enforce this, enforce that, and they're just going to walk really slowly and not even do it at all and pretend they're getting the bureaucracy in place so they can do it. And if it was something they wanted done and the judge ordered it, they'd do it in 5 seconds. But since they don't want to do it, they're just taking their sweet time getting it done and not really even getting it done. So here we are with this illegal immigration and it's the southern border, Texas. And the Texas governor is like, I'm sick of this too. I'm sick of all this with you guys just not enforcing the law. You're just letting whoever wants to come to our country come in, and I'm not for that. I'm against that. So what did he do? What did Greg Abbott do? And Greg Abbott has his moments, his pros and cons, but he's been doing a decent job. He's running against Beto O'Rourke, and O'Rourke's going to fall on his face like he has done. He's going for the trifecta. He ran for president, lost. Ran for senate and lost. And now he's running for governor and going to lose. So he's going to get the absolute loser trifecta. Because he's a loser, Robert Collins, a.k.a. Beto O'Rourke. Why do all communists change their name, by the way? I've noticed this. Every communist changes their name. It's just like, are you just not proud of yourself? Obviously they're not. They want to have a different. They're not proud of themselves, their family. They don't have a different name. But so Greg Abbott takes a bunch of the illegal immigrants and ships them because they said, "Hey, New York, D.C., you love illegal immigrants so much. Here, take them." And puts them on buses and send them to New York because the federal government's taking them and just flying them to other red areas to try to make the red areas blue. Resettling them in different areas. And so Greg Abbott's like, nope, not doing that. He takes them and he puts them on buses and sends them to New York, sends them to D.C., And Mayor Adams is like, oh, we can't take all these illegal immigrants. We're trying to get them food and shelter and housing and medicine and jobs. We can't afford it. It's too taxing on our resources. Oh, but Texas is supposed to do it, right? Texas is supposed to just take it. It's gonna be fine. No big deal. Texas can handle it. But New York, oh no, we can't. New York, no. We're a thriving city. And not for nothing, but of course they're sending all the great people from Mexico coming. They're all doctors and lawyers and nurses and everything. They can support themselves. They don't need any government handouts. So, oh wait, So both your narratives are blowing up just like that, Mr. Adams. Mr. Mayor, both your narratives about how the illegal immigrants are great because the diversity is what we need and they're contributing a ton to society. And we love legal immigration. Both those things seem to not be true. Because it seems like your illegal immigration is not that good because you're having all kinds of problems with it. A, because all these people are being brought in displacing people who live there, and it's a tax on the resources. And B, they're a tax on the resources because they're not contributing. But hey, bring in as many illegal immigrants as you want. Just don't put them in my backyard. Put them in somebody else's backyard. Right. So obviously it's all pure hypocrisy. It's all pure, nonsense and garbage and BS. I mean, that's obvious. And they like importing problems for other people, right? But when those problems then get transferred to them, it's like oh, it's Friday afternoon and this is really busy. I'm gonna walk out the door before my as my shift ends. I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that last email, and that way the second shift person can handle it and it'll be their problem, Certainly a team player, right? But we're all supposed to be team players. The states, the federal government can cram down on the states what the states have to do, and then the states say, well, we're not doing that, you handle it. They say, oh, no, we can't handle that, that's your job. Well, you're the one who said we have to do it, but you're not applying us any support that we need to do it. So they're all hypocrites, obviously, as we know. Speaking of hypocrites, Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney is, she's still a congresswoman from Wyoming, but not for long. She had a primary challenger this past week, and in mid-August here, and she got crushed. She got absolutely lambasted. It wasn't close. She lost by over 30% of the vote. She got 29% of the vote in one of the reddest of states as a Republican in a Republican primary, and she got trounced with a name like Cheney. Like, the name Cheney, right? It's delicious. First of all, that she lost. Heading up the BS January 6th committee, they had other people who wanted, they were going to put Jim Jordan on the committee and other people, and Nancy Pelosi rejected those people and said we want Kinzinger and Cheney because they'll say what we want them to say. There'll be Republicans on the committee, but they'll just say what we want them to say because they're part of the Uniparty, of course. Like so many people are. Like, somebody said, Republicans and Democrats are the same people. They just really enjoy they just really enjoy different Kool-Aid. And that's absolutely true. I hate to say that guy's right, but he is. Especially in DC. Especially in a lot of politics are the same. And honestly, 95% of them, most people in the country are not, strong Republicans, strong Democrats. They just want to live their lives and be left alone. And whoever captures that, whoever promises that the most. Why did Joe Biden win? Joe Biden did not win because he said he was going to redo the whole world. He was going to reorder the society and change the country and all that. That's not why he won. That's not why people voted for him, let's say. Most people did vote for him because he said he was going to be 4 more years of Obama and worse. The worst aspects of Obama to the nth degree. That's not why people voted for him. They voted for him because he was going to do nothing. He was going to sit there and do nothing. Right? Most people want to be left alone. Most people say, I don't want, they didn't like Trump because he was tweeting too much and being annoying. They didn't want politics to be on the news every day. They wanted just to live their lives. They wanted fluff pieces in the news. And of course, there was plenty to go over with Trump, but the media would never do that. Anyways, so all that being said, there really is one party in D.C. It's the establishment. It's the politicians whose jobs are to vote to give themselves raises, vote to go on vacation, and vote to make it harder for somebody to challenge them in an election. That's really their only jobs. They have no other accomplishments. They have nothing else that they do. They have the bureaucracies in place so that if somebody says, well, why did this happen? Your congressman who's been elected for 13 terms is 97 years old. Right? Nancy Pelosi's been in Congress for 20% of the country's existence. Nancy Pelosi's been in the Congress. Yes, but the problems are Trump's fault. I mean, it's crazy. It's not her fault. She would never cause problems or make things worse. But Liz Cheney loses. Liz Cheney goes down in flaming defeat. And really, the lesson, of course, is not that anybody's going to take away is not the right lesson. All right, the lesson Liz Cheney's going to take away, the lesson that the left and the media love her. It's funny because the left and the media love her, and they love it. And she's a Cheney because Cheney represents it's one of the political families like the Clintons, like the Bushes. The Cheneys are the same way. There's other the Kennedys back in the day, right? They were a powerful wealthy family. Elite family, and that's what Liz Cheney is. She's an elitist, like everybody else. Like a lot of politicians, they're elitists. They run, their kids run, their siblings run, and they just are famous and everything like that. Of course, they made a movie about her father, about how he was basically the devil, and he was the worst person. It's called Vice. I saw it. It sucked. It was terrible. It was stupid. It wasn't funny. It was hateful. But it was. Christian Bale, so, whatever. But it was not, they made a movie about how horrible and evil her father was, and now she's getting respect from those same people. It's because they changed their minds, Liz. You're an idiot. You're a moron. How desperate for power are you that you're going to kiss up to the elite media, the elitists in the country, people who hate you and your family, who made movies about how evil your parents are, or your father at least, right? And now, it's I said, politics has become very reactionary, which is true, and whoever the media hates, the left, the right wing loves, and the left hates because the left in the media are one and the same, right? So if the media hates Dick Cheney, the right will love Dick Cheney. But then now the media loves Liz Cheney because she hates Trump like everybody else, all the leftists do, all the media does. So she hates Trump, so now they love her. So what does that mean, Liz? That means now that we hate you. That means now the right hates you. And selling your family out to get some respect from the media because it's personal and nothing to do with Trump. January 6th has nothing to do with Trump. It had everything to do with you hating him. And you went along because he was popular in the Republican Party. So you, quote-unquote, voted for him in 2020. Allegedly voted for him in 2020. Because he was popular in the Republican Party and you know where your bread is buttered. But even though you know where your bread is buttered, he lost, and you took the opportunity to kick him while he was down and to make it personal. Because he doesn't represent the elitists like you. He's way richer than you. Way richer than your family. But he wasn't representing the cool kids club. He wasn't part of the establishment. And your family certainly is. So Liz Cheney took it upon herself to make her vendetta getting rid of Trump, getting at Trump, destroying Trump. And even before 2020, even though she quote unquote voted for him in 2020, she never liked him. She did it because it was what she had to do politically. But she's not really that conservative. She's very moderate, because the Cheneys were moderate. Bush was moderate. And when she was leading the charge of the January 6th committee and all that stuff, her constituents weren't about that. Her constituents didn't want that. They did not want her to go after Trump. They like Trump. They vote for Trump overwhelmingly. But she's against him because it's personal, because she's a Cheney, and they're part of the cool club, and Trump's the unwashed masses. And it tells you everything you need to know. The elites hate middle America. They hate the farmers. They hate the country folk. They hate the rednecks. Be an elitist who goes to an Ivy League school, or don't talk to us. You're not allowed to be at the cool kids table. And Trump picked up all those stragglers that the politicians weren't taking care of, that were just being ignored and tossed aside. Trump picked them up, and that's why they follow him. That's why you have a lot of blue collar workers. That's why you have a lot of the previously, the middle. That's why you have a lot of, the middle of the country. That's why you have a lot of middle income. Like, it used to be that the right was known for taking care of the rich, and the left was known for taking care of the poor. Nobody took care of the middle class. And they both were fighting for the middle class, right? And then when I was growing up, I looked at it as, well, I want to be part of the upper class. I want to be wealthy. I want to be, somebody who's successful in business and whatnot. So I looked at it as, hey, neither side takes care of me, but I'm gonna join the side that I want to be a part of. I want to sit back and collect a paycheck. I want to work and make money in advance. And that's how I saw my ability to grow and become what I wanted to become was through hard work and sacrifice and all that stuff. And government handouts were just getting in my way. So I wanted to gear to that and work and move up the chain. So that's why I always voted Republican, because neither side takes care of me, but at least that side is the side I want to be on, right? And now it's kind of shifted. It certainly has shifted, right? Because liberalism has become very popular with the rich, with the elite, for whatever reason. There's multiple reasons why. Because they're horrible people, and they want to make themselves feel good, so they say they're liberals because they went to college and they're highly, quote unquote, educated, highly indoctrinated. So that's another reason why. Plenty of other reasons why. But the rich and the poor, the rich, because they have high, the rich, because they're liberals and all that stuff, and the poor because they want handouts. So you have the rich and the poor now in the same party, the super rich and the poor. And the super rich don't volunteer. I mean, they give some money to charity and whatnot, but they don't volunteer extra money to pay taxes. They have accountants that get around the tax codes. So they want everybody's taxes to go up so the poor can be helped. And then they'll just bribe politicians, and they'll do all kinds of stuff like that to get around paying the extra taxes. And they always say, oh, yes, definitely increase taxes on the rich. Yes, that's fine. But then the rich are like people who make like $100,000 a year in a dual income. And they're paying more in taxes. And so the money's not coming from the rich. But they can say the right things, and get favorable coverage in the media because they're saying the right things, but they're not actually doing what they say. And the media doesn't care. They just want their agenda pushed. And the rich people can spend money to elect people, help people get elected that they like. So Liz Cheney going down in defeat, she didn't learn the right lesson. The left didn't learn the lesson. The media didn't learn the lesson. The lesson is not that, oh, the country's coming to an end because of insurrections and Trump and this and that. No. It's coming to the end because if you think your constituents, people who support you, are stupid, you think the middle income people are stupid, you think they, oh, you didn't go to college, you're dumb. Oh, you work with your hands, you're an idiot. You should go to college. Just see, this happens when you don't go to college. Yeah. You don't get indoctrinated and you can think for yourself. Yeah, that's what happens. I went to college, I survived somehow. But they're not learning the right lesson. They're not learning the lesson of this is what you should or shouldn't do to keep people happy and keep people voting for you. Liz Cheney getting destroyed, going down in flaming defeat, it's because she, quote unquote, represented people who she despised. You can't govern people you hate. That's why the left is really bad at governance. They're good at politics, they're bad at governing because they hate most of the country. Especially those who don't agree with them. Like the right disagrees with people, but they allow them to come in. The left hates the people, wants them kicked out. And that's a big, big problem. And it's no surprise that Liz Cheney didn't win. It's no surprise. Because again, if you hate the people who are your constituents, you're not going to win. And of course, they do hate their constituents, and they think they're morally superior, and it's a typical Cheney, a typical McCain, Romney. It's losing with dignity. Well, you have no dignity, right? Oh well, and then of course in her concession speech, she compares herself to freaking Abraham Lincoln. Oh, Lincoln lost law elections too before he became president and stopped the blah blah blah, the Civil War. Because Trump's the biggest threat since Civil War. I mean, not 9/11, not World War II, not the Germany, not the Nazis, not the communists. No, Trump, one freaking guy who you don't like, who rocks the boat, who's brash and arrogant. That's the biggest threat to the country since the Civil War. That guy. I mean, okay, but yeah, losing with dignity. That's what the Cheneys. That's what they're all about. They're all about losing with dignity, and they don't have any dignity to begin with. But they're morally superior. They're smart. They're funny. They're attractive. All in their own heads. All in their own minds. And their ignorance is off the charts. And I love the phrase ignorant. I don't know, I didn't coin it, but I've heard it. Arrogant about how ignorant they are. They think they're so smart. They think they know so many things. And they're arrogant about how smart they are. And it turns out they don't know anything. Like, I remember I was at a ball game. These people behind me, these young kids behind me, were talking about all these stats of all these players. And they got every single stat wrong. And they're like, the one kid's like, is that right? Of course it's right, blah, blah, blah. And they got like an argument about who was smarter and who knew more. And it's like, you're actually, neither one of you know anything. You're both complete idiots. You're so dumb. And it's like, but, make sure you're cocky about it. And of course that's it. I mean, that's the thing. They know better than you. They're smarter than you. You didn't vote for them, so you're wrong. Not that it's, it's the children that are wrong. It's Principal Skinner, right? I mean, it's so dumb. Like, you didn't vote for me. It's like the person who, I remember, I think it was Zig Ziglar, or I think it was Zig Ziglar maybe, or it was maybe Jim Rohn. I think it was Jim Rohn. Did a speech about how the person came up to him and talking about how horrible everybody at work is and how they're all terrible. And he goes, yeah, and the worst part is they're going to fire you too. And she's like, well, why would they fire me? They should keep me and fire everybody else, right? The 98% of other people who are horrible, they should fire those 98% and keep me. It's like, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to fire the 98% and keep the 1%. That's you, the 2% that's you, right? I mean, it's if your entire base, you're a Republican. I can see if you lost to Democrats, right? In New York loses to Democrats a lot, and they should get better messaging, get better candidates, and they should win. But it's like if you're losing as a red candidate in a deep blue state or a deep blue candidate in a red state, I can see that. But Liz Cheney's in one of the reddest states in the country and just gets smoked. And it's not even close. I mean, just gets run over. And they asked people on the street, does Liz Cheney represent you? No. Liz Cheney represents herself and the establishment. So of course she lost. Of course she lost. Because they hate Trump. And guess what? Trump is what it is. Trump is what he is. A lot of people like him, some people don't. The Republican Party's pretty divided over him. Some people would love to see him run again, some people would hate to see him run again. But when you have people like Liz Cheney, when you have people like Biden and his DOJ going after him all the time, like whoever you make the enemy is going to be the hero to some people. Like if Liz Cheney would just ignore him, he would have gone away, at least much quicker than if she would have made, if she would have had the TDS about him, right? Trump's derangement syndrome, because they all hate him so much they just can't stop, and that's why he's popular, and it's of course, it's Trump supporters. They're all, January 6th. The reason I started the show is a big part of it was about January 6th, because January 6th was if you voted for Trump, if you thought about voting for Trump, if you didn't vote for Biden and be super excited about the fact that about Biden, then you are January 6th. Like that's what it was. And nobody's really thrilled that January 6th happened. Right? Nobody's happy about that. But one person got killed and there was a rioter, as opposed to lots more people getting killed over the summer by BLM. Right? We've talked about this before. But it's true. And the fact is that the media and everybody else spun in Biden. He wants to unify the country by saying, if you didn't vote for me, you're bad. You're the bad guy. You should come out and overwhelmingly voted for me. And regardless of election fraud or this or that or whatever we're gonna say, anybody who didn't vote for Biden was a bad guy, and they were January 6th. January 6th was their fault, and that's just not true. And that's why that's the big reason I started this show. It's because everybody you disagree with is evil and bad and horrible and the devil, and that's just not true. And it's not acceptable to put people in boxes like that and say, well, we're the good ones, you're the bad one. That's Biden. That's also Liz Cheney, right? Because the Bushes are the very moderate Republicans, right? The very moderate Republicans, and Biden used to be somewhat moderate, but now he's just the center of the Democrat Party, right? You got Joe Manchin is the moderate Democrat, and George Bush is the moderate Republican, and Liz Cheney is a moderate Republican, but she's more of a Democrat at this point. And again, it's they. I think the biggest thing people hate Liz Cheney or are mad at Liz Cheney. I honestly think the biggest thing that people have against her is look at, like, let's say, look at your favorite TV show or movie or whatever, a good movie that has a plot twist, right? Somebody, there's somebody who's been with the good guys the whole time, the whole way. They're with your side, and then at a key spot when you need them, they turn on you and stab you in the back, right? Honestly, you hate the villain in the movie, but the villain's against you. The one you hate more, that breaks your heart and shocks you, is the one you thought was on your side, then flips on you. Right? And that's why Liz Cheney got defeated. If Liz Cheney was a Democrat, she would have a better shot in a very red state, because at least she stands for something and is consistent. And you can point to this record and that record. But when chips are down, you need somebody to be there, and they step away and walk away and let you fall. That's when the pain comes in, and that's when they get really upset, and that's when they become the enemy. So Liz Cheney really is the problem. Like, you want to say what the problem is? It's actually people like Liz Cheney, people who think, oh, they're my base is too dumb to understand, or my base, they're not my base. My base are the people who are the anti-Trump, who upset. Like, it's funny because I've heard people say Trump's a cult leader and Trump supporters are cultists. Well, it's really funny because most people I know who vote for Trump don't vote for Trump because they like Trump. They vote for Trump because they like what he's talking about. People who vote against Trump vote against Trump because they hate him. Biden voters, like, ask a Biden voter why they vote for Biden and they can't use the word Trump. They won't be able to do it. Like, I guarantee you, ask a Biden supporter, why did you vote for Biden? And they won't be able to, and they can't use the word Trump, they won't be able to say anything. Right? Because there is no such thing as a Biden supporter. They're just Trump haters. Right? So who's the cult? Wait, what's the cult? A cult who, is it a cult because you let somebody has good ideas and you want to vote for them? No, that's just an election. That's just a politician who you voted for. But a group that it does something just because they hate somebody else, their entire existence is because they hate somebody, that's way more cultish, I would say. But Biden's a joke. We've always known that. And he ran as the moderate. He ran as the guy who's down the middle. He's just gonna do his job and leave you alone. And you know he was gonna govern like he campaigned, which was not campaigning, sleeping in the basement the whole time and just letting things fall where they may and not doing any rallies or anything because of COVID. He couldn't do any rallies. Right. But he's just gonna sit in his basement and hide, and that's what people wanted. But they didn't get that. Liz Cheney was supposed to be somebody who espoused conservative values, who, even if she was somewhat moderate, and she had a better voting record than Elise Stefanik, who took over for her, is the third in command in the Republican Party, Congress. But when she made it personal, made it about Trump, made it about, hey, I will do whatever I have to do to make sure Trump loses, even though that's what the majority of my constituents want. I don't care what they want. I want what I want. That's how you lose, Liz. That's how you lose. And I couldn't be happier that she lost. And it was going to happen. It wasn't shocking. But again, you cozy up with people who hate you. And people who support you, you crap on. Right? It's like the nerd who gets accepted into the cool kids group for a couple days and then craps on his nerd friends. Because I'm with the cool kids now. No, you're not. They'll never take you in. They'll never support you. They're using you. And you're too stupid to see that. So who's the stupid one, Liz? Is it the people who didn't vote for you because you stabbed them in the back? Are they too stupid? Or are you the stupid one who's cozying up to the left because they're giving you newfound respect and they're just going to stab you in the back later when they don't need you anymore, right? They're going to throw you the wolves when they don't need you anymore. I feel like that's probably what's going to happen. And it's your own fault. You have no one to blame but yourself. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can look at our Facebook page, facebook.com/PaperMillProductions. You can email the show direct to PaperMillProductions@gmail.com. Share the post. Tell your friends. Let us know what you think. Suggest topics. We'll try to get more of these out more frequently. We've been doing them pretty much monthly at this point, but I do want to get them out more often if I can. It's been very, very busy, especially in August and July. But we'll try to get them out more often. Like I said, hopefully have some off-season reality TV stuff coming up in the next season of Survivors coming up soon, and Amazing Race as well. So we're going to have a lot of content coming out. Want to get a couple sports shows out here as well, so we'll try to do that. But be sure to subscribe so you get everything we do have. If something comes across your feed that you're not interested in, just you can just delete it. No big deal, no hard feelings. But subscribe so you get everything, and maybe eventually I'll make a feed for everything, but for each thing individually. But be sure to subscribe so you have it all. And like I said, let us know what you think. Share the post. Tell your friends. Thanks for listening. Check us out next time. And until then, bye, Dan.